My dear friends, today I am going to introduce a new topic. We all know, as part of our syllabus on Indian writing in English, on women's writing, and so on and so forth, we are supposed to read poems of Kamala Das. And today, in this discussion of mine, I am going to shed some light on Kamala Das's life and works by way of introducing her as a poet, as a writer, as a thinker. Now, while talking about Kamala Das, you will hear three names. Kamala Das, Madhavi Kutti, and Kamala Suraiya or Dr. Kamala Suraiya. All these three were actually one. Kamala Das was born in Kerala, in Malabar, on the 31st day of March 1934. And after a reasonably long life in which achievements and sorrows, accolades and brickbats were as frequent as the hailstones in a hailstorm. Kamala Das died in 2009 on May 31. So, we can very easily understand that Kamala Das in her life has seen many things. The Second World War, the British rule in India, at least the last days of the British rule, independence, the divided independence of the subcontinent, by way of which India was liberated but given a partial freedom in this that it was divided into Pakistan and India. Kamala Das also saw, to her horrors, the riots between Hindus and Muslims during and after the last days of the British rule and after the independence in 1947. She saw India's emergence as a young, independent country with enormous problems, but a strange and magnificent resilience. The battles with India fought with Pakistan and China, all these things Kamala Das saw from very close quarters because she was a poet. She was a short story writer, a playwright, a journalist, a columnist. Kamala Das also saw in Sri Lanka, she saw the civil wars fought between the Tamils and the Sinhala population. because she was there with her husband, who was an FAO consultant, Food and Agricultural Organization, this wing of the UN, had sent Madhava Das, the economist, as one of the advisors. So Kamala Das in 1983 was an eyewitness to the bloody civil war in Sri Lanka. As an independent candidate, she fought the 1984 elections after the death of Indira Gandhi. She, late in her life, embraced Islam and called herself Kamala Suraya. And after a long fight with advancing years, with sometimes unreasonably adverse public opinion, and with an ailing body, ultimately she died in 2009. Now, Kamala Das was a bilingual writer. In an introduction, she says that she speaks in 3 languages: Tamil, our mother tongue Malayali, and English. Writes in 2, there is English and Malayalam, and dreams in 1. We'll have to come back again and again to this particular statement and its apparently ambiguous signification. Dream in 1, what does it mean? In an introduction, the contiguity between this dreaming in 1 and an edict from her friends. Don't write in English. English is not your mother tongue. Suggests that English might have been the language of her dreams. Kamala Das, in her life, has seen much. She was born into a feudal family, a Nair woman, and a cultured family as well. Because one of her great grand uncle, Madhavan, the Nalapat Menon, was a theosophist and also a philosopher. Kamala Das's mother, Balamani Amma, was a Malayalam poet of great repute. Her father was the editor of the very popular daily Mathrubhumi. And Kamala Das has worked and agitated for the rights of the marginalized, for women, for the Dalits, and also for the trees. And she has received many awards for this bout of activism that she entered into from time to time. Kamala as a writer and also as a person was bold, upright, but at the same time a bit naive. She could dare the supremacist discourses like patriarchy and ethnocentrism, classism, Semitism, and ageism, to say a few of the to talk about a few of the supremacist discourses. Now, a peculiar problem that Kamala Harris's poetic reputation has had to contend with has been the fact that most of the editors who have anthologized her poems have been male. And unfortunately, in spite of the fact that her poems are many and varied, only certain poems that deal with sometimes even sexually explicit themes from the standpoint of a strong woman, but at the same time an exploited, marginalized woman. But my dear friends, you will see that Kamala has written confessional confessional poems, She has written about female sexuality in rather an unashamed manner. If we borrow the phrase from some of her holier than thou readers. But she has also talked about many other issues, about class, about religion, race, caste, color of skin, age, health, ideology, and last but not least, obviously, gender and sexuality. Now, Kamala as a poet cannot be read or understood if we don't situate her in and against the tradition that she was a part of. I am talking about the Indian poetic tradition. We all know that Kamala has had a very varied life. She, in her childhood, spent a lot of time in Calcutta. Within the ambit of Bengali culture, she has stayed for a long time in Bombay, and then her life, as they say, came full circle when she decided to settle down in Trivandrum. Now, Kamala has also written quite prolifically in Malayalam, using the pen name Madhavikutty. And we all know that after conversion, she had changed her life into Kamala Suraya, conversion to Islam, that is. Now, Kamala has written short stories, such memorable ones as A Doll for the Child Prostitute and Padmavati the Harlot and other stories, At the same time, she has also written many plays, many of them radio plays, you know. And in Malayalam, she has written short stories and memoirs like Balyakala Smaranakala. And in English, when she was 37 years old, and at the hospital, you know, fighting for her life, she had written My Story. My Story is a kind of a memoir, but a fictionalized memoir. That is why it is called My Story. And this has been criticized by some critics and readers of so-called finer sensibility. Because in this text, Kamala seems to advocate adultery. But in one of her interviews, she had pointed out that it was her story, not so much a life story, but also a semi-fictionalized account of her life and times. The first poems that she wrote about a doll, she had to give away to one of her fair-skinned schoolmates during a visit that the school had from the wife of a mighty British official. Kamala had to give away, actually, part with this poem, which was lost later on. Why? Because she was not a fair-skinned girl. She had a nut brown skin, complexion. The poem that she wrote as a teenager and which won the Pen Asia Prize, you know, was afterwards. She has written many books of poems, you know, many volumes. The first one was Summer in Calcutta. The second one was The Descendants. The third one, The Old Playhouse. Then she also brought out privately Collected Poems Volume 1. From time to time, she has collaborated with other poets, sometimes with Prithvish Nandi, and sometimes with others as well, you know. So, for example, Suresh Kohli. So when the joint volume came out with the two authors, Kamala Das and Prithvish Nandi, you know, that was called Tonight the Savage Right. Similarly, when she wrote with Suresh Kohli, this book was called Closure. Editors have often edited her poems from time to time, you know. Actually, for example, there has been the Best of Kamala Das. Then there was another anthology of her poems, with a few critical articles by people like Sid C. Harris and others. This was brought out from Australia. Okay. And then she has also written Only the Soul Knows How to Sing, and other poems of hers have appeared in many journals and periodicals. Now, so far as her attitude towards education was concerned, she didn't believe so much in formal education, but she was a voracious reader. Okay. Well, Kamala Das, in spite of being almost a self-taught person who was greatly benefited by the very rich collection of books in the library of the old Narapat house, she, in many of her interviews, has said that a poet does not need to know a lot about the stock exchange, about the banks, about the shares, but a poet should speak about herself and the other concerns that she feels or he feels. And how important her contribution to Indian English poetry was and is can very easily be understood from the fact that when she had brought out the collected poems, volume 1, her collected poems, this was shortlisted for the Nobel Prize. Even though ultimately she was not given the Nobel Prize, at least she, in her own way, had brought Indian poetry in English to the world stage. She is considered to be one of the most important Indian poets in English, and arguably the best and the most well-known of the women poets in English, along with people like Eunice D'Souza, Mamta Kalia, and others. She has done yeoman service to the emergence of Indian women's poetry in English. I am going to close this discussion here, but my introduction to Kamala Das will continue because I need to situate Kamala Das, as I was telling you earlier in this discussion of mine, that I have to situate Kamala Das in and against the tradition of Indian writing in English, Indian poetry in English, and also, to be precise, Indian poetry in English by women poets. So, thanks for listening. With this, I would like to end this discussion. Thank you.